Okay. All right, guys. You cannot change anything unless you're willing to understand it. And you cannot understand it unless you're willing to explore it. A good debate doesn't get ugly. We may talk of things that make people feel vulnerable. Beliefs held sacred may be challenged because of life experiences, but we're not trying to make people wrong or to incite riot. We are simply exploring. Welcome to the Elite Thinking Club. All right, so where we left last week was with this quote here, which I thought was beautiful, said by Liz, brought to the group by Liz. Again, the knowledge bombs. It's not the years in your life, it's the life in your years. And when I heard that, it was great. You know, all those that watched the vid last week and all those that were involved agreed. Because you could live a real short life, but it could be so fulfilling. It could be filled with so much of things, you know, or you could live a real long life and be just not really have done much at all. So I really, really appreciate that quote right there, Liz. Thank you very much. Oh, guys, I didn't even say hello. Say hello. God, didn't even ask you to say hello before I
Hi,
begun.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Oh, that's something else I was doing for my boot camp. Go on, guys. Right, Lucas, Teresa, Liz. All right, so obviously a fresh sheet in case anyone says anything this week that I think, oh my God, it's got to go on the board. Oh, and we will admit. Katie's joining the group as well. Better late than never, but never late is better. All right, so I wanted to begin this session with something that was said to me now more than once in the week. I've heard it from 3 different people, okay, all good friends of mine. They don't know each other, but they've all said it to me. So I don't know if that's a sign from the universe telling me I need to look at this thing, or if it's just, you know, hot right now. It's the hot topic right now. And that is the Great Reset. Does anyone on the call right now know what this thing is? Anyone? No?
Is this
Take
the
it.
whole Build Back Better, where they want to restart the world, like reset everything? And the elite are completely in control, and we are literally like slaves to the system.
Wow, that is like one way to look at it. And I understand, I think I get where you're coming from with that one. And yeah, if you don't know what Liz just said there, what does it sound like to you? The Great Reset in regards to everything that's happening right now with like lockdowns and COVID and this sense of growth within our planet, like moving forward with regards to making it a better place. Everyone's doing their bit. Less plastic, clean up the oceans, you know, save it. What does anyone think, or what does it mean to you to hear the Great Reset? Lucas, anything? Teresa, you want to say something?
It sounds a little bit like Mother Nature taking over, like doing a big clear out, almost like a spring clean, like I would normally do, and get everything back to fresh and clean and how it should be. I mean, when you think of, obviously there's 2 kind of conspiracy theories, aren't there? There's either that COVID was man-made, or COVID is actually nature's way of going, hello, things are messed up right now and we need to do a big clean out. That's how
Yeah,
you look at it, I guess.
isn't it? It's how you look at it, right? Anybody else, what does the Great Reset sound like or mean to you when you hear that?
The first thing that pops into my mind is deciding what is natural and what isn't. So what is dictated by certain high power bodies like the governments and stuff, and what is natural from the processes on Earth.
Yeah, yeah. I hear you. Trust, like when I heard it, my conspiracy side of my mind took over. What do you mean the Great Reset? Like, I thought it was like a government thing that happens like every 10 years or 20 years or 30 years or whenever they feel like it needs to happen. Because I do think that there's like a ruling elite. I don't know who these people are and I can't call them out. And even if I did know, I think those that have tried in the past have been killed, you know, like your Princess Diana's, Tupac Shakur's, even JFK, you know, and that's not like, what I'd call a conspiracy is quite obvious, you know, and that's quite heartbreaking to think that anyone that stands up against this ruling elite end up getting killed off, you know, they're made examples of. So I think that's why a lot of people don't call them out. They just stay hush and, you know, think it's a smarter move not to say nothing. But then also, when you have to put your trust into people who actually do see the bigger picture, you know, Jules Julian from UK, I don't see the whole world, you know, and I'm not there. It's not my job, or I don't have a role in the world to oversee stats of the bigger picture, you know, and maybe those that do understand that it is time to actually take a pause, analyze the situation, and, you know, put together a plan that is in the best interest for everyone everywhere. There was a video I got sent though that, you know, it really did put a spin on things. And it was actually from one of the people that said to me about this great reset. And in it, they were talking about how there's private companies who have agendas, obviously. And some of those agendas, they think it's their responsibility to do it themselves. Like they don't want to rely on the government because the government also have an agenda. And this great reset by the governments, it tends to have like a narrative that dictates they want more ownership and they want these private sectors to be regulated more. And I don't know if this is a way for them to gain more control, but why do they think they have a right to that control? Anyone? Do you know what I mean? If for example, a private company is just doing it extremely well, like really, really well, in the fact that it's making a lot of money, it's providing a lot of value, and it's got like a service. And then the government come along and say, no, we want to regulate this more. We want to take a bit of ownership for it. And by all your, imagine you owned a company, you have the rights to it. They shouldn't have to tell you how you can and can't be, you know.
Sounds
But
like
this,
they want a piece of the pie.
right. But this great reset is better for the future if they could present like argument like we should regulate it because of this, trying to create unity, harmony, maybe globally as well. Very, very powerful buzzwords. But if we do hand that control over to the government, let's say we do give them this, just hand over this thing that you've worked hard to create, by the way. This is all your hard work, and not just with the blood, sweat and tears, but also, you know, the financial risk and all the investors and shareholders involved. Because I get what they're talking about, like the Great Reset maybe being equal opportunity for all, because everyone's there, but I don't believe it should be the same equal outcome. You know, there's equal opportunity and equal outcome. If you work hard and you graft and you created something that, you know, is awesome for the benefit of humanity, but then you've got other people coming in saying, no, we don't agree with this and this. We like what you're doing here, but this thing here, no, it can't be happening. It's like, well, I'm not breaking the law, so who are you to tell me what I can and can't, right? And obviously this is like mass scale, yeah, mass scale. If, for example, say, just like if I did listen to my conspiracy brain, like the conspiracy mind, someone would say something like, you do know, right, that they're putting us in a state of control more and more every day, and it's having its toll, it's taking its toll. And now they're trying to put in this great reset, and it's got all these buzzwords like unity and harmony and global oneness and stuff. But in actual fact, all they're doing is just going to take away all of our freedoms so that we rely on the state. You know, they have the power over us, and that defeats the purpose of private. You know, let's say, for example, you worked really hard at building your own home, your own house. From that house, you started growing your own strawberries and you started selling your strawberries out your front door. And before you know it, you've created this thing. And someone else comes along and says, oh, we don't want you doing that like that. Who are they to tell you that? And I know that this is like real conspiracy mind, but I'll go there in a bit more further down the line. I'll go there. They will enforce a sense of fear in you that they do have this overruling power, when in actual fact they don't. You do. Do you know what I mean? So the state reliance, I just brushed on it quick, but
I think people forget that when it comes to the government, that their power is given to them by us.
right,
We vote them to govern us. So the power is actually with the people. But I think because of the system and generations and the years that have gone by, people have
yeah,
got so used to listening and, doing what they're told, and doing as they are governed, because they think that's the right thing to do. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it isn't. And I think that sometimes people just forget the sense of the fact that the power is with the people. So without us, they wouldn't have a government, because they wouldn't have a population or people to govern. So
yeah. Right. So we do put them in positions of power to make government decisions, but do we also then, do we just say, okay, because you're in that position, then everything you say is right?
a lot of people, I think, do. And then I think a lot of people are like saying exactly what you're saying right now. Hold on a minute. I built this house. I planted those strawberries. Why should you be coming along and telling me what to do with that?
Right. Because just because it's legal doesn't make it right necessarily, as we've seen in the past.
Absolutely.
There was a
Absolutely.
lot of things that were legal in the past that just weren't right. Now, moving forward, it's like looking back, thinking, can't believe that was the thing. They used to put black people in zoos, and it was legal. And that's just like, that's like, what else would they were doing? Like when slavery was legal, that's like light compared to some of the harshness that people were allowed to do. And that's just obviously an example that came to mind first of all when I said that phrase. Just because it's legal don't make it right. But it's loads of things. I want to mention something about this, like private and public. Okay. For example, we all know the corporations, like in particular, like Facebook and Google. And I'm going to talk about this later on. But Elon Musk, right? The guy is being labeled the Tony Stark of real life. Okay, making billions, giving is a great word, providing things for us like electronic cars. He's trying to do his bit. He's using his money to really push for a better, sustainable planet. Even his program SpaceX, yeah, SpaceX has performed. Lucas, I don't know if you know much about this, because obviously you're I forget what you are again. A geo. Lucas, help me out.
Geophysicist.
Right, geophysicist. But Elon Musk, he's flying out there. He's trying to create the Mars, like the world on Mars, so that we have an alternative option. And his SpaceX program has performed better than what is public, which is NASA. So he's private and public is NASA. NASA's been around for how long? How long's NASA been around, right?
Well, I don't know the exact time, but
Right.
the only thing, Elon Musk is a smart man, because if you ignore the space stuff, he created the electric cars, and then he thought, oh, the whole world's going electric, I'm going to create batteries. And no one knows that he's creating batteries or chargers or anything to store the energy. He's all seen for doing the cars. But if you think about how his mind works, he's gone back from what he's made and he's traced to the source of what people are going to need in the future. So that's one of his massive business propositions that he's put forward, that's sort of just gone over people's heads.
Yeah, totally. And again, like I'm Jules Julian from the UK. I don't see the global grander vision of what he must be able to see. But from the signs, it seems like there's the public and then there's the private, and the private seem to be doing very well, to the point where actually the public are backing him. Like, yeah, do your thing, because NASA's taking ages, But this scenario reminded me of something, right? And I'm a Marvel fan. Do you remember? I don't know if it's Civil War, Captain America Civil War, when the Avengers kind of split two sides, because in come the government and they literally tell them, you guys have been doing your own thing for a while, and for all the good you've done, we're very grateful, but you need to be regulated now. We can't have you just whenever you want going out there and doing your thing. We have a signed agreement here from over 222 different countries all saying that you guys should be regulated. Now, that wasn't from the people, that was from the governments of these 200 countries. And don't quote me on the numbers, but that's what was presented. And I don't want to call them the leaders, but there's private, and that's Tony Stark. And then there's the public, which was Captain America. But obviously Captain America being part of SHIELD is still a bit like private. Anyway, they were all operating privately, doing their thing when they saw fit. And then the government come along and want to turn it public. And you know, the dynamic right there, Tony actually agrees, which I find a bit weird, because Tony Stark's character would have told him, nah, do my own thing, which he has been. Then he had a change of heart and said, maybe we should be regulated. But in a nutshell, what I'm getting at is that it reminds me of that. It reminds me of that a lot. Here's Elon Musk, right, creating SpaceX, doing really, really good stuff. And this great reset could potentially slow that process down. And it does make me think.
The only thing I'd say is, if you're leading towards, so the main sort of message I took from that was, you're talking about leadership and who's to say who's in control. Well, when they, for example, in the Marvel, when they brought that was sounding more like a dictatorship where the people didn't elect that. Democracy obviously is the best option, and the one where you're saying there shouldn't be who decides who's above everyone else. If you don't have a governing body, then you go into like a communist state or community, and communism just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
I get where you're coming from, is who's to say who leads everyone else, and why should we listen to them? But if everyone turns against them, then everyone's free to do whatever you want, and then you could end up with, well, anything, to be honest, because if anyone can do anything, you end up with riots, wars. People just wouldn't obey any laws which are there for a reason.
Yeah.
It's funny though, everybody wants a degree of freedom, but it's amazing about how much their lives are actually controlled and influenced. People wear what they wear because of what is in the catalogs or what is on TV. People listen to what they listen to because of, you know, what's promoted on the music channel or on the radio. We are controlled in so many ways that sometimes we don't even realize the degree of control. You go to school, you're taught what the curriculum is. You're not taught to think freely, you're taught to fit into what a standard curriculum is. So, you know, it's obviously to a degree needed so that you have some sort of standard, I guess, especially in education. But at the same time, ultimately, from the minute we're born and we're in any kind of system, we're following instructions.
100% agree. Yeah. We're in the system. Once we're registered, we're in the system.
Yeah, and you get a certificate.
Going back to the education side of things,
yeah.
I think it's once you get to the higher levels of education, that's when you're more restricted. When you think about it, because when you're younger, you cover such a broad topic, and even though you're directly taught maths, English, science, and all the others, indirectly you're taught how to problem solve and evaluate what you're seeing. From the earliest age, you evaluate, and it's engaging your mind to solve problems that are given to you.
Yeah. I just want to pause right here and just ask, who's Alfred on the call? Someone's in on the call and I don't know who this Alfred is. So unless you can say who you are, or just send me a message on my phone just to let me know who you are, just so I can confirm who you are. I don't mind. Sorry?
It's Jam.
Oh, hello, Jam. You all right?
Hello, yeah, I haven't got got my camera on because I'm still like feeding my baby.
It's cool, it's cool, it's cool. Jam, welcome, welcome, welcome. Bless, bless, bless. All right. Yeah, sweet. If you want to say anything, go ahead, say it's cool. It's an open discussion. Sorry, Lucas, to carry on with what you're saying. Yeah. The further in you go, like in a sense, the deeper you go, or the deeper in the system you are, the harder it is to see out of it. You're 100% right. Totally. Very, very hard. I asked a question quickly before this call. Now, this is, I think, coming away from what we were just talking about. But what's everyone's take on, like, say, this great reset and moving forward in regards to artificial intelligence? Like, okay, just a quick vote, and you don't have just to, how can we do this vote? But just hands up on the screen, who's for artificial intelligence? Who likes the idea that it's more efficient and productive to have a computer built on algorithms that repeats and gets smarter due to more exposure, more data, more input, and therefore making less mistakes and is more accurate and precise than a human error? Like, just hands up. There's one. And some people are half, two people are in the middle. I love that. And it's because we all do think differently. So I too am in the middle. I haven't got a definite yes or no towards this. And the reason why is I'm opposed two different scenarios. One being the medical advantage, and two being the control agenda. So the medical advantage of it is with an algorithm or a computer of artificial intelligence, it has the ability to receive data over the course of time to create a definite answer, or I say a probable outcome, probable answer. So for example, the human brain, is billions of neurons, right? And they all fire to each other like a domino effect. And it's in that process that we think and we have our thoughts. Same principle is applied to these AIs. They get given a data and then that links to something else, to something else, to something else, almost like neurons. And if that then leads to the next, and then that leads to the next, and what it creates is its own network, right, to get to the outcome. The issue is that although we do have the same capability, we have the ability, we don't necessarily use it as much because we're human. But a computer doesn't have a life. It just has that. That's its purpose. It just does that so much, so quick. So for medical, right, so you have a doctor and you have a computer. And let's say that they both look at an X-ray. And that X-ray shows what the doctor recognizes and what this computer recognizes. And the computer has seen 10,000 X-rays before. So has the doctor. But when the computer looks at it, it knows exactly what it's looking at. Whereas the doctor, he may have seen 10,000 X-rays before, and he might actually have a clue. But which do you think is more precise? Which do you think is more accurate? So let's say now that computer has been alive, has been around for like 3 years. Not only has it seen 10,000 X-rays, it's now seen 30,000 X-rays. And because it's been so efficient in its first 2 years, people have backed it. So they're saying, give it more, give it more. We give it 3 million X-rays because it's capable. If you see 3 million X-rays, the probability that it could be a tumor, it could be cancer, it could just be, a damaged punctured lung, or that's just a slight broken bone. Obviously, a doctor seen 3 million X-rays, he can say what it is, but a computer, so that's just medical, right? Medical. But now let's talk about the control agenda. Now, this is where I'm middle. Good friends of mine have Alexas. I'll tell you why I'm a little bit with Alexas. Amazon has just opened up a new store, and you don't have to take money with you because your money's on your Amazon account. You go into the store, face recognition. You go into the store, you scan your, it's called Amazon Go, by the way. It's in Silicon Valley. You can check it out. It's a prototype store. So you go in, you've logged into your Amazon account, you're in, and it's got shelves and things are stacked, just like a regular shop, but there's no money, it's all Amazon account. Face recognition, voice recognition, whatever you want to log in. So you're logged in. It knows you. It knows you very well. It's seen everything you've purchased in the past. It can direct you, navigate things to what you like. It knows what you like. Go to aisle 3, it's got this thing you like. Oh, I do like that thing. Let me check it out. So you'll walk into aisle 3. This is going to like make you think beyond, like, I'll allow you to process this. On the ceiling are Alexas with cameras. So they follow you. Just like any store has security cameras or CCTV, but this is Amazon CCTV. It follows you. So when you take a product off the shelf, it waits to see what you do. You either put it back or put it in your cart. Literally, in your cart. Once it sees you do that, it registers how long you looked, like how interested you were, facial expressions, things like that. Now, I'm not saying that you are connected to your watches, but you know, most smartwatches now can regulate your heartbeat. You know, they can regulate how you're feeling almost. Anyway, you put that product back, and as you continue to walk around the store, there is still the sensors on the top seeing what aisles you go down. Now, if you do deviate from what the computer predicts or probable is your outcome, what your probable outcome is, it will also register that. Oh, you stopped and looked at incense. Now you like incense. Adverts might start popping up. You get where I'm going with this. And that's the control agenda, because
it already happens now. Like when I have a conversation with my friend or friends, and literally I'll go home, sit down, go on my phone, and the adverts that come up are products that I may have mentioned or I have mentioned in that conversation. So it already happens, that element with our phones and iWatches and things already. So yeah, it does make you feel like you're sort of almost in Big Brother, you know, like you're being watched and they can tell you what you like and what you're going to do and what you're going to buy. So I'm not really for Alexas personally. Yeah.
So I'm not trying to make it fearful. I'm not trying to put this whole be afraid, be very afraid, you can't escape.
I know.
Do you get what I mean? It's just observational wise, like artificial intelligence, it's not a person. Just always remember that. It's not a person watching you, but it is watching you. Like, what is this thing watching you? And it just collates data, you know?
I think an Alexa is just the same as a mobile phone. Your phone listens to you as much as an Alexa does. So what's the difference?
Good point. Good point to the group. So what is the difference between an Alexa and a mobile phone? You know, Alexa responds to the word Alexa, right? That means it has to listen to everything you say to know what not to respond to. I tell you.
Yeah, but that's just like your phone responding to Siri or Cortana or whatever else it is, Google Go, whatever. My phone's going to go in a minute. But it's one of those things that, you know what the thing is for me? Sometimes it is a bit irritating, like getting the adverts and stuff. However, probably just because I am the type of person that will talk to anybody or anything, but I have nothing to hide. Do you know what I mean? I'm not doing any big government takeover plan. I don't care if you hear about me talking about EastEnders or talking about Persil or what knickers I want to buy. I don't really care. So for me, it's like, all right, listen in if you really want to. But if it means you tell me Boohoo's got a sale next week, I don't mind. I don't know.
Nice. No, hey, that's good.
Can I just say a few things about this?
Yes.
So from a business perspective, where you're getting adverts based on what you're searching, do you not think that's smart in a way? And the person that created that deserves to reap the rewards of having persistent adverts about the topics that you're researching, because clearly that's a successful business idea. And it's clearly working because people are noticing. And how many times you saw it on Instagram or on the internet and you've gone, oh, that looks nice, or oh, I might have a look at that later on. But also where people, going back to the Alexas, and when people are worried about is always listening, no offense to anyone here or anywhere, you're Joe in Essex or whoever, the government they're not worried about what you're doing. They don't care. You're just another number on their register, on the list. But then another point about AI is, so there is a Russian physicist who put forward this hypothesis that turned out to be true, and there's a big film series based around this as well. So there's 3 stages to humanity and society and how we evolve. There's stage 1, which is microbiology, basic cells like bacteria. Stage 2 is a universal currency and high-tech like equipment. And stage 3 is Star Wars, which is what the film is based on, intergalactical transportation, and obviously maybe not lightsabers, but something to that degree. So
I hope there's
our
lightsabers.
society at the moment is between stage 1 and stage 2. We are currently developing a universal currency. I don't know if you've probably heard of it, called Bitcoin. That is going to be the universal currency, which is going to develop our humanity from stage 1 to stage 2. That is the next step we need to take. And that, I don't know if anyone knows much about Bitcoin, but there is no all-seeing government high power in that Bitcoin. It's governed by the people.
Yeah,
So
I'm now starting to learn about Bitcoin.
Yeah, so you've got these small transactions, which there's people called Bitcoin miners, and they sit at their computer, these supercomputers, that will mine away and do all these algorithms and stuff and break the code for each transaction of the Bitcoin. And at the moment, people are a bit scared of it, especially the government, because they're going to lose all their power with printing money. But that is the next step our humanity needs to take. And obviously people are using it as investments at the moment, and no one's transferring their Bitcoin at all. They're using it and just watching on their screen, the number just go up and up and up. But once it all calms down, people will use that. Instead of £5, you'll be using Bitcoin to buy stuff. I don't know how it's going to work yet. That's what they're all trying to figure out. But that is the next step that you are currently living in that not many people know about. So,
yeah, I agree. I heard Lamborghini are accepting Bitcoin as payment now.
a lot of, going back to the private side as well, I wouldn't be surprised if in the next couple of years, Elon Musk or some other big private figure has gone, I'm going to invest 25% of my net worth into Bitcoin to get it, like kickstart it off the ground. And then once one person does it, you get the ball rolling. And then before you know it, everyone's doing it. Bitcoin's already taken over. The government's lost all their power. They're not printing money anymore. Real physical money has gone out the window. But all these private companies are taking Bitcoins now, and they're not scared of it. They're sort of embracing it and learning from it, which is what needs to happen. But obviously people are still going, oh, I'm not too sure about AI. AI has helped us massively, because I can guarantee you, most of you, before you go to bed, you put your phone on charge. That piece of phone is probably the most high-tech thing they've ever developed. AI goes all the way back to the calculator that you used to use back in school, or the light switch on the wall, or the TV that you watch downstairs. So people can say, oh, I'm not a fan of AI, but your life is already involved around AI and you don't really know it.
Well said, Lucas. Well said. Love it, mate. Love it. Love it. Exactly. And, you know, back to what Callum said last week about how we're born into the system and we don't have a choice. I think what you just said there does sum it up a little bit. From the second you are born, you're in. So the question is, do we willingly just accept what is inevitable? Should we be the first to do it? Let's leap right in. 2 foot takeoff, 2 foot landing. Government chip me right now. All my data in a chip on my wrist. I want to walk into shops and just pay by Bitcoin.
I
Have you
think as well,
seen?
we've got to remember like how times change. Like, for example, we talk about, the adverts popping up on our phones and Facebook, but once upon a time, remember we had 5 channels and every single channel had adverts. Do you know what I mean? We
Yeah.
wasn't watching iPlayer, we wasn't watching YouTube. We were sitting there watching probably, I don't know how many hours of adverts. And that was how we was getting the message. We were seeing adverts in print. It was in the TV guide. It was in the newspapers. Now it's a different method. People don't sit and watch adverts anymore. Minute adverts come on, if people even watch normal telly anymore, everything is on replay and TiVo boxes. So the only other way they can get adverts to us is through our phones, is through the internet, is through pop-ups. So it's all about development and how things evolve. And at every single point of evolution, there's always that element of fear. It would have been the same when the internet first started going. People would have been scared about the internet. I remember my parents, when the internet came out, they were all like, oh no, because, you can search anything. Okay, well, now it's like second nature. I'll tell my boys, Google it. They ask for something. Mum, what's it? Google it. I don't know, Google it. Do you know what I mean? So I think at every stage of change, there is that element of fear. And we're kind of like on that cusp of, we still remember old school, but we're going into real new school now. And it's different. It's scary, but does it necessarily mean that it's bad?
I don't think Bitcoin's bad. Just jumping in on what Lucas said, I think that's a great thing because for the longest time, I didn't like the idea that currencies were fluctuating and stuff. I know why it was built. Okay, straight in with this. I think things were made with the intention for the good. They always are. It's just there's this side effect that wasn't seen. Last week we touched on young people and their communication skills kind of slacking because they're used to speaking to a screen. And, we never created these things for the intention of that. We always created these things for the efficiency, productivity, you know what I'm talking about, like the good. And then, the side effects of that. I do think the future's bright. It's going to be good. And Bitcoin is, like Lucas said, if we are at that 1, 2, 3 stage and we're in between 1 and 2, let's just get to 2. I wonder if we will see 3 in our lifetimes. Like, will I get to own a lightsaber? That's just me thinking of myself. But it's crazy. It's not crazy. It is not crazy. It's real. It's very real. I think you're right, cuz. I think that we are the generation that's sort of in the mix of it. And fear is like, I see fear as excitement. Like you should turn it into excitement. I think it's the body's way of gearing up, when you get nerves to
That's
launch.
exactly how I channel it. That is exactly how I channel it. I always try and tell people, it's not scary, it's exciting.
Yes. And fear also, it gets to challenge your bravery, I think. There's a saying, a boy asks his dad, Dad, I'm scared. And he says, okay, it's okay to be scared. And he says, does that mean I'm brave? And he says, that's the only time you can ever be brave. So having a bit of fear will test our resilience as people, our bravery. Like, how brave are we? We need to take this leap. Whether they like it or not, we got our Elon Musk's like really pushing us. Like, we've got to do it, guys. We've got to do it. I can't do it on my own. I need your support. I need your backing. Wonder if we will get to Mars. Did make me think once in the past, actually. Like, we've been to the moon and back. That was how many years ago? Why have we not got like theme park rides to outer space yet? Do you know what I mean? Why am I still not saying it's a bad thing? I love Alton Towers, but I'm still going to Alton Towers. Why is there not like rocket rides? I don't know how much it costs, to be honest. Again, George Julian from the UK. I'm not globally, can't see it all, but that should be a thing, right? No? No one else in that? I'm in that.
There will be a time, not at the moment. I there's a lot of conspiracies of when they went to the moon and back, and you can make your own opinion of that. I'm sure you've heard them all. But the way there is a massive halt in space technology, and the problem that we're facing at the moment is half the population wants to do something, half of the population don't, and there's not a union, like we're not unified as one. So I think linking it back to Corona, this will hopefully push the population of the globe into more of a unified thing, because we're all going to have to work together. Everyone's gone into lockdown. We're all wearing masks now. Most people are. So it's not so much this country against this country. We're now going into more our planet, our solar system, another galaxy. That's where we're going to go. So we started really small, and now we're starting to broaden the horizon.
So this great reset, the ruling elites that are getting together and having these chats, probably us times 10, and they see this as what needs to happen. Interesting. So I did get a video sent to me about this great reset, and again, back to private and public. Now, this is to throw a spin on the private. Everyone knows who Bill Gates is, and everyone knows that he's got, well, the buzzwords were the vaccine for COVID, Corona. Right place, right time, right tech, right? And people have also paraphrased what he said, which is we are overpopulated by about 3 billion people on this earth. And I don't know if it's true or not, but we're talking about, back to my question on the first elite thinking club, would you kill 1,000 people to save 10,000 people? Now, we know we're not in positions to make that decision, but again, I said, and I'll say it from when I said it, someone's got to, someone has to. But who decides who? Who goes and who stays?
Kind of Hunger Games, isn't it?
Have you heard about this Bill Gates thing? Just out of curiosity, anyone on the call actually know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I've heard about it.
Okay. Now, Bill Gates's mindset towards this, now I don't actually know if this is what he exactly said, but what I got from it was he's looking at seeing who's more valuable towards the contribution of the productivity of the human race to sustain us as a human race, and who isn't. That's how he defines who can stay and who can go. And that is so primitive in any species. Survival of the fittest. We don't want the weak links, we kill them off, and we only want the stronger to sustain the strength of our species, or the species. So he looks at it like who provides and who doesn't.
The thing, going back to the evolution, the way technology has advanced and how people, there's no discrimination anymore, and they, for example, the NHS, they try and save as many people as they can. So the naturally weaker people with poor genetics, they're still being around to reproduce, which is what the theory of evolution goes against completely, because the beings with worse genetics than others, they're reproducing, so the worse genetics are still being transferred through our society, whereas if we let nature take its course and go through the theory of evolution, only the superior genetics will have a chance to reproduce. So our species will eventually become more and more designed to and more effective at what they should do.
So hear this one, Lucas. You know, Hitler had a theory on killing off genetically transferred diseases. Like, if your condition is genetic, kill them off, because it's not going to help the human race in the future. Hence why he wanted to create the master race, what he thought was the master race anyway. But I understand his logic. I'm not agreeing with the man and how he conducted himself, but I just understood his logic, or, explored it. Now, if that is no longer a limiting factor into your contribution to the human race. Let's say you do have a genetic condition that restricts you physically, but in actual fact, you are mentally capable of creating Tesla, for example. Will Bill Gates now, as like the theory of evolution goes, we can't afford to lose that person. They contribute massively, regardless of, condition physically. So it's not so much now about that. It's of how, species and theory of evolution was survival of the fittest. It's now, is it survival of the value? Who brings more value? Get what I'm saying?
Genetics doesn't necessarily just mean physical. Genetics can be mental as well. It's what your body is made up of, how you process things. It's like sort of the algorithm of a computer. Your genetics is what makes you work. So you might be weaker, but you might be mentally strong. You might be able to evaluate. You might have a mental strength of maybe not a physical strength, but you're still valuable to the table. The way I've always seen it as, you should always aim to bring more to the table than what you take away. And that is the person or the ideal being that will be chosen to sort of stay around.
And that's what I was trying to say. But say that one more time, Lucas. I'm going to write that down. I quite like that one. I'm going to put that on the board. Just stop Liz. I'm joking. I'm joking. Go ahead, mate. Go ahead.
Bring more to the table.
Oh, bring more to the table.
Than you take away.
Should it be bring more value to the table or just bring more? Bring more. I'll say what you said. Don't know why I did a capital A there and a lowercase y there. Don't worry about it. Bring more to the table than you take away. And that will ensure you're valuable. So, in essence, Bill Gates won't kill you. But ain't that crazy?
It is, because it's also dependent on what the other person values. So the only way I can describe it is like this week, I was on the panel for recruiting assistant vice principals. And there were 3 of us on the panel interviewing the same person, but we all had different opinions on why this person should or shouldn't get the job. So you had somebody who was also a maths teacher, like this person was, and was like, brilliant, yep, they're on it, we need to have them on board. Whereas another person looks at them and was like, they just didn't have passion, they just didn't have drive, they didn't have like, the X factor for what we want them to do and to be a leader. And then you had like, my opinion of the person was kind of like, they said all the right things, I just didn't believe what they were saying. So you've got one person against a panel of 3 who's probably brought their best A game on that day, but we've all evaluated that differently. So then who's to say whose opinion of your value is correct?
Yeah. And surely, isn't it then boiled down to based on tangible things? Which I don't agree with. Well, I don't know. I kind of do. I'm in the middle of this one.
I think though is if say we all collectively brought more to the table and then we took away, then we're all bringing different things. So a lot will be covered. And if we're all taking away a little bit, then I think, some of us are going to get what we need from it. Some of us are going to get things we didn't realize we needed. Some of us are going to bring things that others need. And yeah.
So wouldn't we cancel each other out in essence? You know what I mean? If we're bringing and taking, it just cancels it out. So imagine if, say, like you do bring more, like if it cancels it out, back to the point about, well, I don't know if we said it, trying to remember, but communism, everyone just equal, everyone just flat rate. We all just the same. If everyone operates out of that and everyone brings and everyone takes, we just all become. So imagine if we all did contribute, which in essence we kind of do. And then there's, we need to get rid of 3 billion. Who do we get rid of? How? The Great Reset.
There was a conspiracy theory that I read about the coronavirus, and because there's massive overpopulation in China, they tried the one-child policy, they tried loads of things. I heard that it was a biological way, and they blame it on a natural occurrence to limit the population so that they could survive better. But then it got out of hand and spread worldwide. I'm not saying I believe it, but it's a plausible theory as to what's happened.
I love a good conspiracy.
It was the first thing I heard about was biological warfare. When this first came out, it was the first thing that I kind of saw.
Talking about warfare, I heard that over time, war has always been a way to regulate population. If you can send thousands of men to die, it kind of slows down the reproductive system of our species. Now, I'm not saying that, it's again a conspiracy. I heard it once, but they've been doing it for time. Ruling elites will orchestrate wars to ensure that the population stays at a certain rate, hence why only men go to war. The less men there are, the less breeding there is. I think the only reason why we can't do it at this current state, especially as evolved as we are, is because 2 reasons. I think people wise up. I know it took me a while, been to war twice, but people are wiser. People were trying to tell me not to for ages, and then also, can we do it? Because the advancement of weapons, when does it stop? We're now at a state where AI, we can send robots, drones. You don't actually have to send men on the ground. So that solution to population control can't exist, or doesn't exist anymore.
I think going back to AI, everything in AI is controlled or programmed or coded by a human person. So even though people say, AI is bad, it's only as good as the creator that programmed it. So even though it's got feedback loops built within it, the person that has coded that has put that in there using their own brain.
Have you heard about those 2 computers that spoke to each other though, Lucas? And the only way that the people that recognized they were doing it, they had to pull the plug. They had to shut them down. They had to get rid of the electricity. Did you hear about that one?
Yeah.
So basically, they created 2 AI computers, and they both spoke different languages. It's like coding, ones and zeros and symbols and stuff. They left them to do their thing, and then the people that created it recognized that the computers started communicating. They were speaking in code to each other. Now, I heard another story about a family home. They had a smart TV and an Alexa, and they were all joking around, asking Alexa to tell jokes, making the TV change color, just from voice control and whatnot. And the youngest person of the family, I think it was like a little girl or a little boy, I don't know, but the youngest little person, they asked the TV, TV, what do you like about Alexa? And the TV responded, I like Alexa's blue light. And then Alexa replied back to the TV, thank you, TV. And that right there freaked the family out a little bit. And they, I can imagine being in that situation, like understanding that your technology or your computers are talking to each other. I mean, I wonder if they have a conversation when you're not home. Who knows?
Yeah, you can. I get where they're coming from with that you're worried about them communicating and taking over. But
so instead of it being like a Star Wars future we're looking at, it's more like a Terminator.
Yeah.
Skynet, it's coming.
But one thing, you want the AI to communicate with each other. I don't know I don't know people in here personally, but you're not gonna get an Apple Watch and have an Android phone because they're not compatible with each other. If that's that's like the very basic level. But you want compatibility between your AI devices, because otherwise it's not as effective if it was talking to each other. So I'm trying to think of other examples, but
That's cool. I hear you. I hear you.
you're not going to get
So
a
when
MacBook and an iPhone.
so
That's like
sorry.
my iWatch and my phone. So if I go for a run, I don't take my phone because I log it on my Strava on my watch. But then as soon as I walk into my house, the iPhone dings up because it's received from my watch my run stats on my Strava app on my phone. So they're communicating, aren't they? You know, it's going from one to the other. They're connecting. So yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that if it was an Android, like you say, Lucas. It wouldn't be compatible. It wouldn't work, would it? Wouldn't really be able to communicate.
Yeah, so when the technology is communicating with each other in a controlled manner and doing what you want it to do, then that's perfect because that's what it's programmed to do. It's when it gets slightly out of control and when it's communicating and the people that programmed it don't know what's going on, because that then links back to the unknown. And as a human race, you are scared.
That's the bit where I'm a bit iffy of it, yeah. But I'm
I think
new and
sorry.
to change. Sorry, but yeah, that's just like you say, the unknown. It's just a little bit iffy with the computers. I think I've watched too much Terminator and iRobot.
You know what? So back to the AI being in a medical sense, when that watch tracks your data from your Strava run and logs it onto your iPhone, I think that's great because over a course of time, say like 30,000 X-ray pictures, your data is just storing, and the algorithm's keeping a good track of you, so it knows. Imagine you start going for a run and your steps start decreasing and your heart starts changing. It may be able to, probable or predict, you should check in with your doctor because it's starting to show
there
that
is
you're.
actually a thing on there where it does monitor your heart. And my friend has it because she actually has like an irregular heartbeat, and it tells her that she's running too fast or, that she needs to rest and stuff like that. So, I mean, medically, it's amazing.
Yeah. Guys, you guys are amazing. I value you so. You're amazing. Thank you so much for tuning into this session tonight. Just checking the time, and it is time. I just want to say that was great. Thank you all so much. And I'm going to have to close it there. But like I do every time, everyone, everywhere, peace and love.